sometimes in physics we have to convert units. For instance, if something's given in minutes, we may need the quantity in hours. And there's lots of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you this way. If you have a different way, you're more than welcome to use it. For instance, if I say, all right, how many hours is 30 minutes? You actually know it's half an hour. Half an hour is 0.5 hours. And you could just write that down. But let's go through the way that'll work for all examples. So first thing you do is you write down 30 minutes. And we're always going to multiply it by something. So instead of having minutes, I want hours. So you write down H for hours. To make minutes disappear, it needs to be in the denominator. So I'm going to write minutes in the bottom, because minutes over minutes will cancel out, and I'll be left with just hours. Next thing you have to ask yourself is, how many hours are in a minute, or how many minutes are in an hour? I know how many there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, so I'd simply just write down 60 and 1. Then in my calculator, I'm going to go 30 times 1, which is 30, divided by 60 will just give me 0.5. In the second example, I want to convert seconds into hours, and you can see a pattern here. All you do is you write down what we have. So it's 120 seconds, and we're going to multiply it by something. Instead of having seconds in the numerator, I want hours. So I'm going to put an H on top. Now, to get the seconds to disappear, it needs to be in the denominator, so in the bottom, because seconds over seconds will actually cancel out to be 1. Next thing you have to ask yourself, do I know how many hours are in 1 second? No, I don't. But I do know how many seconds are in 1 hour. If we think about it, there's 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. So 60 times 60 is 3,600. So 3,600. That's a number that you need to know. So someplace in the back of your mind, realize that 1 hour is equal to 3,600 seconds. How did we get that? It's just 60 times 60. That's all that is. All right, let's get back to our problem. So I have 120 times 1, which is just 120, divided by 3,600, and that gives me 0.03 hours. On to our third example. This time I'm changing kilometers into meters. And you should know there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer. The word kilo means 1,000. So if you have a kilogram, you still have that kilo part. That means there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. But right now we're talking about meters. So a kilometer means 1,000 meters. There is actually 2 ways to do this. You could just take the decimal and go 1, 2, 3 and get 580. Or we can do the method we've been doing so far. And the reason I'm showing you this is we're coming up to some complicated examples. We need to practice the easy ones first. So let's keep going. We have 0.58 kilometers, and we're going to multiply it by, well, instead of kilometers on top, I want meters on top. I want to convert that to meters. To make the kilometers disappear, I put the kilometers in the denominator. I know there is 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. And then all we do is we plug it into our calculator. 0.58 times 1,000 divided by 1 is just 580 meters. Example number 4. These are the tricky ones where we have to change 2 things. I want to go from meters per second to kilometers per hour. So not only am I changing the distance part, but I'm also changing the time part. So we start it like we always do. You write down 50 meters per second, and we're going to multiply it by something just like before. I want to start with just the meters, the numerator. So if I just deal with the numerator, well, instead of meters, I want kilometers. I write down kilometers. To make the meters disappear, I need to put it in the denominator. I know there's 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. But I'm not done yet. I need to deal with the seconds that are in the bottom. So now I'm going to hide the m and realize I'm going to multiply by a second fraction. Instead of seconds being in the denominator, I want hours, because I want the hours to be on the bottom. To make the seconds disappear, I need to put it on the top. And I already learned that there are 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. Now, when I put this into my calculator, I'm simply going to go 50 times 3,600 divided by 1,000. The number on top I'll multiply. Multiplying by 1 doesn't do anything. Okay, and then I'm going to divide by all the numbers on the bottom. So 50 times 3,600 divided by 1,000 will give you 180 kilometers per hour. Example number 5 is very similar to example number 4, except now I'm going the other way around. I want to go from kilometers per hour to meters per second. So, as always, you just write down 20 kilometers per hour. We're going to multiply it by a fraction. So, just deal with the distance first. Let's deal with the numerator. So, instead of kilometers on top, I want meters on top. To make the kilometers disappear, I need to put it on the bottom. I know there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. Now I got to deal with the hours. Instead of having hours in the bottom, I want seconds. To make the hours disappear, I have to put it in the numerator because hours divided by hours cancels out. I do not know how many hours are in a second, but I do know that there's 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour. 60 times 60 is 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. When I put this into my calculator, I'm going to go 20 times 1,000 times 1. 1 doesn't do anything, so 20,000 divided by, what's on the bottom? 3,600. And that would give me 5.56 meters per second.